Yesterday, July 7th, majorly known as the Sabasaba, a memorable day to all human rights defenders in Kenya and Kenyans as a whole. Citizens took it to the streets of Nairobi and the CBD to protest on the high of commodities, majorly or mostly the basic commodities, food.
No food. They afford 100 ya kununua bati. Sasa hivi economy imepanda. Tutanunua bati kama tutanunua unga. Jameni, na mkosi anaenda ndani ya nyumba hiyo ni 400 shillings. Oi, tuko na njaa. Njaa. Basi shukishwe, ikuwe bure, sikizi ni pesa. Tutanunua bati kama tutanunua unga. Jameni, tumechoka.
The citizens said that they will boycott the elections if their rights under Article 43 of the Kenyan Constitution is not met, and that their only concern to the government is to make food commodities affordable for the common mwananchi.
Sisi watu wa Kayole tunasema katiba itekelezwe, si ndio? Na tupea right to food, si ndio? Sisi tukatembea bure, tunatembea ndio chakula iteremshwa, tunalala njaa. Tunasema katiba itekelezwe.
Tumwambie vijana wa Kiambio sahi hawatafuti pesa, wanatafuta unga. Bei ya unga ishuke isishuke. Tekeleza katiba, tekeleza.
People united shall never be defeated. Mimi kama mtu wa Mathare nasema kwa niaba ya Mathare kwamba chakula imepanda, sabuni imepanda, kila kitu imepanda.
Ukiingia kwa hoteli hakuna sosa.
Ni wakati wa kutekeleza katiba.
Wadanyo!
Katiba inatupa fursa ya kukua hapa na kutekeleza katiba na
sisi kama wazee umesikia tumeshindwa na kazi kwa sababu unga imepanda. Comrades, power!
We are still slaves in our country, and we must fight to free ourselves. We must start from the mind. Remember Marcus Garvey, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. The time is now, my people. We must come out and resist. And what I'm saying is, we must stop coming out one day and then we go back. That's the message we always give. We have to take this thing forward until there is change and true change. And whatever the ruling clique, the status quo must reside in total. That's my position, that's my stand as a poor man in this country.
The march ended at the Harambee House, where the protesters read out their petition, then later handed it over to the office of the president, giving the government only 2 weeks to adhere to their call and reduce food prices, failure to which they will boycott the elections.
Viva! More power to the people, more power! More power to the people, more power!
Over the last 10 years that the Jubilee regime has been in power, way before the war in Ukraine began, Kenyan families have experienced a constant rise in the cost of many basic necessities that has made it difficult for them to attain economic stability. Volatile commodity prices continue to threaten food security, survival, poverty status, and livelihoods of the poor, whereas the margins of inflation in the previous years have been relatively minimal. In the last 6 months, Kenyans have experienced a hyperinflation that has and are currently basically fighting for survival. It is without a doubt wise to conclude that life is getting increasingly unbearable for the people of Kenya. The prices of basic commodities keep rising every day, with the majority of the people being unable to afford food, the most basic human right under our constitution. Foodstuffs such as maize flour, cooking oil, rice, wheat and groceries are too expensive for ordinary Kenyans. More than 35% of Kenyans suffer from food insecurity and malnutrition each year, with 2.6 million facing a food insecurity crisis. In February 2022, the Kenya Food Security Steering Group's annual short-range assessment reported that there are around 3.1 million food insecure people in pastoral and marginal agricultural areas. A 48% increase. Research Center, 80% of people living in informal settlements are food insecure, with malnutrition rates of up to 50% among children. More than 13 million Kenyans suffer from chronic food and nutrition insecurity, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization. Kenya ranks 86 out of 117 countries on the 2019 Global Hunger Index. Further, we have witnessed a massive loss of jobs among our population and a terrible economic crisis due to state mismanagement and corruption. We are witnessing state demolitions carried out against the people. We are faced with an acute water shortage. Cases of police killings and brutality are on the increase. Majority of Kenyans cannot access proper medical services. Rent is unaffordable. 65% of women and girls in Kenya are unable to afford access sanitary pads. The gap between the richest and poorest has reached extreme levels in Kenya. Less than 0.1% of the population, that is 83,000 people, owns more wealth than the bottom 99.9%, more than 48 million people. The richest 10% of people in Kenya and an average 23% more than the poorest 10%, according to the Oxfam International. People in Kenya are experiencing a great gigantic wave of attacks. The crisis of neoliberalism throws many millions of people into poverty. The expansion of state repression threatens the limited democratic rights, which has excited in parts of the world, and the food crisis threatens the lives of many people.
Playing politics with the lives of Kenyans. Despite all the indicators, both from state and non-state actors, clearly pointing out that the livelihood and survival of many Kenyans is at risk. The government has turned a deaf ear on its citizens and has opted to exploit them further. Every financial year, as if a ritual to mock the poor, there is always a scandal of corruption involving senior government officials, amounting to billions of shillings, and no serious action has ever been taken beyond tough talking speeches by the head of state on the roadsides. Misplaced priorities in budgeting and overinflated projects without public involvement has been the order of the day in Jubilee government. This has only favored the super rich while exploiting the poor. The public debt has risen beyond a sustainable levels, and its ratio to the GDP is alarming. The short-sighted regime with zero strategies on expanding their revenues has opted to rely on taxation, double taxation, and over-taxation of the basic commodities, frequented by the poor as their only strategy to raise funds. The workforce in the informal sector is shrinking due to constant layoffs and unregulated labor policies. The working population who are balkanized in the informal sector are overburdened with dependency, with the report indicating that on average one worker supporting over 5 individuals. The government has continued on their onslaught to privatize public companies, auctioning them at throwaway prices for their proxies to further exploit Kenyans. All this must come to an end. Therefore, We, the people of Kenya, demand a comprehensive audit of the Jubilee regime and its impact on ordinary citizens be initiated and the results be made public so that those culpable of those rules can be held accountable. Immediate lowering of the prices of food and basic commodities and full implementation of the Mwananchi budget. We will read the Mwananchi budget after this. Immediate scrap off of increased taxes on fuel and other fuel items, and an end to increasing public debt. Free and fair conduct of general election and prevention of violence during the elections. Immediate end to police killings, police brutality and state repression. Access to free, quality health care for everyone. Provision of clean water for all. Provision of decent housing and an end to evictions. Equitable access to jobs for everyone and an end to mass unemployment. Right to land. Right to land for everyone. And an immediate reclamation of grabbed land and public spaces. Provision of free sanitary pads to all women and girls. Provision of free sanitary pads to all women and girls. Comrades, power. We hand over this petition to... It's time to hand over this petition. Yes. Handing over. Handing over. Hand over. Vina Social Justice Center. Leo tuko hapa. Kwanza leo ni siku ya Sabasaba. Siku ya kukumbuka wale mashujaa ambao wamepigania democratic space ya hii nchi from 1997. Na sisi tuliamua kutake over the mantle kwa sababu kama vile Jaramogi alisema, it is not yet good. Sasa tuko hapa kuambia serikali ya kwamba Wakenya wako na njaa sana. Bei ya vyakula vimepanda sana. Bei ya vyakula vimepanda sana. Wakenya milioni 2 hawezi afford 1 meal per day. Kenyans are suffering. Na wadosi wale ambao wanafaa kuwa wanapigania Kenya wanajifanya ati hao pia wanastuka ati Wakenya wako na njaa. Deputy President pia anasema Kenya iko na njaa. Sasa tunauliza, what kind of a country is this that a few rich people are hovering around with helicopters in the name of campaign, yet over 2 million Kenyans cannot afford basic food. Tumeingia pale wakatupeleka kwa ofisi nyingine hata ina chai. Wakasema wana stamp watapatia Matiang'i apelekee Uhuru Kenyatta. Sisi tumewaruhusu leo tu wiki 2. Tuwapatie wiki 2. Unajua itakuwa bado wiki 2 to elections. Kama wata reduce the prices of food, nasema no food, no election. No food, no election. That is our message. Tuongelea katiba tekeleza. Tuongelea hiyo petition. Hii petition inaongelea what we spoken about. Kaminuka. Prices of food. Nataka kanuke. The prices of food. Reduction of basic food. Nataka tueleze umepeleka petition wakakwambia nini? Wameniambia they will hand over to the PS, who will hand it over to the CS, and the CS will hand the petition to the president, and then they'll get back to us. That's why we have given them 2 weeks. Wafanye hiyo process yote. In 2 weeks time we'll be back for answers. If there's no answer, we'll tell people don't go for the elections. Because you can't have elections when people have no food. Yes.
No food, no election. No food, no election. No food, no.
Barshosho TV, bringing you news to your doorstep. I've been your reporter, Stoned Mister.